Most men are living inside a silent crisis. They are running on a script they didn't write, chasing a ghost of happiness they can't define. This ghost takes the form of a woman's smile, her approval, her love. They believe that securing this is the ultimate prize, the solution to the quiet emptiness they feel. This pursuit leads them into a cycle of heartbreak, of being used for their resources and attention, and into gilded cages, relationships where they feel more isolated and powerless than when they were alone. But this crisis isn't new. Over 200 years ago, a brilliant and notoriously pessimistic German philosopher, Arthur Schopenhauer, dissected the human condition with a surgeon's precision. He exposed a brutal, underlying truth about our nature, a reality so uncomfortable, so antithetical to the fairy tales we're sold, that most men, then and now, violently reject it. This isn't just another red pill theory. This is a foundational philosophical argument. By the end of this, you will not only see the invisible walls of your prison, but you will be given the tools to dismantle them. This is the complete Schopenhauer protocol. So pay attention. What you're about to hear will reframe your entire understanding of attraction, purpose, and power. This is the missing key. 1. The biological illusion, the will to life's greatest trick. To understand Schopenhauer, you must first understand his central concept, the will to life, will zum Leben. Schopenhauer argued that beneath our conscious minds, our personalities, and our rationalizations, there is a blind, aimless, irrational, and overwhelming driving force present in all living things. This is the will to life. Its sole purpose is to perpetuate itself, to survive and to reproduce. Our conscious intellect is not the captain of the ship, it is a mere employee, a navigator hired by the will to help it achieve its goals. And what is the will's most powerful, most cunning tool for achieving reproduction? Romantic love. Schopenhauer didn't see love as a spiritual connection or a meeting of souls. He saw it as a sublime and ruthless biological illusion. It is a chemical deception engineered by the will to life. When you feel that powerful, earth-shattering attraction, that absolute conviction that she is the one, your conscious mind is not connecting with her essence. It is being hijacked. The will is performing a subconscious, million-year-old calculation. Fertility signals, youth, health, specific hip-to-waist ratios, vibrancy. Genetic compatibility, immune system compatibility often signaled through scent, pheromones, symmetry of features. Resource potential, signs of status, strength, and the ability to provide and protect. This calculation feels like poetry. It feels like destiny. Schopenhauer wrote. This passion is the ultimate goal of almost all human effort. It is more important than anything else in the world, and is therefore worthy of the profoundest seriousness. But he meant this mechanistically. This passion is a temporary, intoxicating chemical high, a sublime madness, designed to make you irrational. It makes you write sonnets, start wars, destroy your finances, and abandon your friends, all to achieve the will's goal, procreation. And then, the crucial part, the illusion is designed to fade. Think about it with clinical detachment. How many men have laid ruin to their ambitions, their peace, and their self-respect for a woman who later replaced them without a second thought? How many marriages transform from passionate unions into quiet, resentful partnerships or bitter divorces once the children are raised and the will's purpose is served? That is not a coincidence or a personal failure. It is the curtain falling at the end of nature's play. The actors are left on stage, confused, holding props that have lost their meaning. Modern corollary, evolutionary psychology and neuroscience confirm this. Dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. The chemicals of obsession, focus, and euphoria, flood the brain during the limerence phase of love. This state is, by biological design, temporary. It lasts long enough to form a pair bond for raising offspring but inevitably recedes, often replaced by the attachment hormones of oxytocin and vasopressin, which are calmer, less euphoric, and far more conditional. 2. The tyranny of the weak, the misunderstood game of value. Armed with the false illusion that love is a spiritual reward, most men play a losing game. They operate on a model of transactional fairness. The script reads, "If I am kind, loyal, devoted, and sacrifice for her, I will be rewarded with love, loyalty, and desire in return." This is the core deception. You are bringing fairness to a game that isn't governed by your rules. Schopenhauer saw this clearly. He warned, "To be loved, one must not be just, but clever." Just means fair, according to your personal code. Clever means understanding the actual rules of the game being played. Women, whether consciously or not, are also agents of the will to life. Their attraction mechanisms are governed by an ancient, hardwired selection program. It is not primarily based on modern, enlightened concepts of fairness, equality, or your personal happiness. It is designed by evolution for one outcome, maximizing the survival and quality of her offspring. This program is often called hypergamy, the instinct to seek the best available genetic material and the most reliable access to resources, status, security. Your devotion, by itself, is worthless. It is a null variable in her biological equation unless it is coupled with genuine strength and value. This is not misogyny, it is a sober observation of biological imperatives that operate beneath the surface of social politeness. Look at dating apps, the data is unequivocal. A small minority of men receive the vast majority of female attention. The criteria are overwhelmingly based on indicators of status, genetics, and confidence, signals of a strong will. Look at history. Kings like Henry VIII of England dismantled their entire religion for a woman. Samson lost his power to Delilah. Powerful men throughout history have been betrayed by mistresses they showered with wealth. The pattern is a constant. This leads to what Schopenhauer identified as the tragedy of possession. The thrill for the will to life is not in having, it is in conquering and acquiring. The chase is the point. Once the conquest is complete, once you are committed, loyal, predictable, and emotionally dependent, the biological interest wanes. The will is satisfied and looks for the next challenge. This is why a woman often loses interest when she has secured a man, and the dynamic flips. The man who clings too hard, who makes a woman the absolute center of his universe, who sacrifices his mission for her comfort, inevitably watches her respect and attraction for him evaporate. He has ceased to be a prize to be won and has become a managed asset, or a liability to be discarded. Here is the critical, paradigm-shifting twist: this is not a moral failing on her part. It is not malice. It is not even entirely conscious. It is the expression of a deep biological program. The man who understands this stops blaming women. He stops seeing himself as a victim of female cruelty. He starts strategizing. He understands that interaction is not a fairy tale, it's a negotiation of biological imperatives. And the man who negotiates from a position of perceived weakness, neediness, lack of purpose, financial instability, loses every time. 3. The path to true power, denying the will and building the self. This is where Schopenhauer's philosophy evolves from a bleak diagnosis into a revolutionary prescription for power. His ultimate lesson is this: the most dangerous lies aren't the ones women tell men, they're the ones men tell themselves. The modern man's fatal error is externalizing his source of value. He believes his happiness, his validation, and his purpose must be bestowed upon him by an external object, in this case, a woman's approval. Schopenhauer's antidote was radical self-reliance. He wrote, "The happiness which we receive from ourselves is greater than that which we obtain from our surroundings. The world is my representation." Meaning, your experience of reality is filtered through your mind. If your mind is weak, chaotic, and dependent, your world will be too. The men who truly thrive are not those who conquer women, but those who conquer themselves. They develop a purpose so consuming, so intrinsically rewarding, that female attention becomes a pleasant bonus, a complement to their life, rather than the central pillar of it. They become a source of value rather than a beggar of validation. History's most remarkable men, the artists like Michelangelo, the inventors like Tesla, the explorers like Shackleton, the philosophers like Seneca, weren't chronically distracted by the chase. They were too busy building, creating, and exploring. They were aesthetic contemplatives, in a sense, finding joy in the mastery of their craft and the power of their own minds. They understood that to escape the tyranny of the blind will, you must transcend it through conscious self-mastery. This is the foundation of unshakable masculinity. Not the caricature of aggression, but the quiet confidence of self-contained power. The 3 pillars of sovereignty. 1. Economic sovereignty. Your financial independence is your primary freedom. It is the foundation upon which all other freedoms are built. This is not about being extravagantly wealthy, it is about possessing the resources and skills to make choices without requiring permission. It is the absolute opposite of needing to be provided for. A man who controls his finances controls his fate. He is not incentivized to tolerate disrespect or stay in a degrading situation out of fear of loss. He can walk away. This possibility is the source of true strength in negotiation and in life. 2. Philosophical depth, the fortress of the mind. You must cultivate a mind sharp enough to cut through societal lies and biological illusions. Become a student of human nature, of history, of power dynamics, and of Stoicism. Read Schopenhauer, Nietzsche, Marcus Aurelius, and Sun Tzu. Understand evolutionary psychology. Debate ideas. Think for yourself. A man with a weak mind will be manipulated by every trend, emotion, and person he encounters. A strong mind is a fortress. It allows you to observe your own impulses, the tug of the will, without being controlled by them. This is the essence of self-mastery. 3. Physical mastery, the vessel of the will. Your body is not just a tool for attraction, it is the physical vessel of your will. It is the temple of your consciousness. Weakness in the body, sickness, lethargy, lack of discipline, breeds weakness in the mind and spirit. It signals a weak will to the world. Strength, health, and capability, built through consistent discipline, breed innate confidence. This confidence is nonverbal and commands respect before you even speak. It is the physical manifestation of your internal discipline. The man who builds these 3 pillars stops begging for love, approval, or fairness. He is complete unto himself. And a paradox occurs, he suddenly finds these things come to him. Why? Because he has removed himself from the desperate, confused masses. He has become the prize. He understands that the dynamic between men and women isn't a personal battle, it's a biological theater playing out across millennia. The man who wakes up to this stops blaming and starts evolving. He doesn't resent female nature, he adapts to it. He builds a life so compelling, so full of purpose, strength, and genuine joy, that women must either rise to meet his standards or watch from the sidelines. He offers a partnership of value, not a prosthesis for his own inadequacy. The choice is yours. You can continue to chase the illusion, mistaking a biological trick for a divine purpose, living and dying by a validation that was never designed to last. You can remain a slave to the will, believing you are the master. Or, you can take the true red pill. You can choose to see the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. You can step into your true power. Remember, this isn't about hating women, it's about loving the truth enough to rebuild yourself, brick by brick, in its unflinching image. This is where the desperate chase ends. And where your real life begins. Conclusion, the sovereign man, beyond the illusion. We began in a place of quiet desperation, a cycle of confusion that defines the modern male experience, the relentless, exhausting chase for external validation, primarily through the approval and love of a woman. We diagnosed this not as a personal failing, but as a systemic one, a fundamental misunderstanding of the game itself. We turn to the bleak, unflinching wisdom of Arthur Schopenhauer, not to find despair, but to find the liberating power of truth. His philosophy of the will to life provides the ultimate, red pill, the understanding that what we experience as romantic love is, at its biological core, a magnificent and ruthless illusion designed by nature for procreation, not for our personal happiness. This is a terrifying truth to accept. It shatters the foundational fairy tales we are fed from childhood. It feels cold, mechanistic, and devoid of the magic we so desperately crave. Our first instinct is to rebel against it, to label it as cynicism. But this is the crucial crossroads. Do we cling to the comfortable lie that makes us perpetual victims, or do we embrace the uncomfortable truth that has the power to set us free? Schopenhauer's genius was not just in exposing the illusion, but in providing the blueprint for transcending it. The answer is not to become bitter, to hate women, or to withdraw from the world. The will to life is a part of us, we cannot simply switch it off. But we are not merely slaves to it. We are the only creatures on earth blessed, or cursed, with the capacity for self-awareness. We can observe the will. We can understand its tricks. And through that understanding, we can master it. The path forward, therefore, is not outward, but inward. The fatal error is the externalization of our value. When we believe our worth, our happiness, and our purpose must be bestowed upon us by another person, we hand them the keys to our entire emotional kingdom. We make ourselves beggars at the feast of life, hoping for scraps of validation. This is the definition of weakness, and weakness, as we have seen through the lens of biological reality, is inherently unattractive and unsustainable. The true rebellion, the ultimate, fuck you, to the blind, demanding will, is to become self-contained. This is the essence of the sovereign man. He is not a king who rules over others, but a ruler who has first conquered his own domain, his mind, his body, and his resources. He understands that the three pillars, economic sovereignty, philosophical depth, and physical mastery, are not just tips for getting better with women. They are the non-negotiable foundations of a life lived on one's own terms. They are the practice of justice towards oneself. Economic sovereignty is the modern equivalent of building a strong fortress. It isn't greed, it is the freedom to choose. It is the power to walk away from any situation or person that disrespects you, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. It funds your mission and removes the desperate need to use another person for survival. Philosophical depth is the sharpening of your sword and the strengthening of your shield. In a world of noise, manipulation, and biological impulses, a trained mind is your greatest asset. It allows you to see the game behind the game, to separate truth from fiction, and to navigate life with strategic clarity instead of emotional reactivity. It is the tool you use to observe the pull of the will without being dragged by it. Physical mastery is the honoring of your vessel. It is the daily discipline that proves your willpower to yourself. A strong, healthy, capable body radiates confidence non-verbally. It is the physical manifestation of your internal order, and it signals to the world, and to potential partners, that you possess the discipline and vitality that the will instinctively seeks. The beautiful paradox, the secret that the desperate masses never learn, is that by stopping the chase for external validation, you become a magnet for it. When you build a life of intrinsic purpose, when you are consumed by a mission, a craft, an art, or a pursuit that is bigger than any single relationship, you cease to be a participant in the desperate competition for attention. You become the prize. Women, attuned to indicators of a strong will, are drawn to this self-contained power not because you trick them, but because you genuinely embody the traits of a competent, capable human. You are no longer negotiating from a place of neediness, but from a place of abundance. You are not offering devotion in exchange for value, you are offering the opportunity to share in the value you have already created for yourself. This is the only negotiation that works. This is not manipulation. It is evolution. It is aligning your conscious life with the brutal truths of reality and thus becoming stronger, more resilient, and more authentic. The goal is not to use this knowledge to exploit others, but to build a life so complete that you can engage in relationships from a place of genuine choice, not desperate need. You can love, not because you need to be completed, but because you choose to share your completeness. The Schopenhauer Protocol, therefore, is not a philosophy of nihilism. It is a philosophy of ultimate responsibility. It transfers the agency for your life from the outside world, from women, from society, from luck, back to where it has always belonged, you. The choice before you is stark. You can choose the blue pill, continue to believe the fairy tale, live as a slave to the will, and experience recurring cycles of confusion, heartbreak, and quiet resentment. You can blame women for being hypergamous, blame the world for being unfair, and remain the hero of your own tragic story. Or, you can choose the red pill. You can embrace the liberating truth. You can accept that love is a biological illusion, that life is not fair, and that your happiness is solely your responsibility. This path is harder. It requires immense discipline, brutal self-honesty, and the courage to stand alone. It means giving up the comfort of blame and embracing the burden of power. But on the other side of that difficulty lies something far greater than fleeting validation. Genuine freedom. The freedom that comes from self-ownership. The freedom to create your own meaning. The freedom to engage with the world, and with women, not as a beggar, but as a sovereign man. The illusion has been exposed. The map has been drawn. The question is no longer, what is the truth? The question now is, what are you going to do about it? Your real life doesn't begin when you find the right woman. It begins the moment you decide to become the right man.